Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, you were one of the first people I spoke to immediately after they called the top five, right? So immediately after we turned our backs and then we went off and then we got to our phones, you were the first person I spoke to. And I was like, I feel like I let the country down. You're like, what are you talking about? We're all celebrating. And I remember just feeling so like disappointed, like turning my back. Like as soon as I turned my back, I just was like so disappointed because I just was like, I just felt like there was further to go. You know what I mean?
Welcome to the Hello Joy podcast. I'm your host, Cherrylee Pinder. Hello Joy is more than a book, and it's more than a book launch. It's a movement, and we want you to experience the move of God with us on November 15th at Bahamas Harvest. For more details, check out the QR code on the screen or the details below. When you come to Hello Joy, the book launch, you will get to experience Ezekiel from We Need to Talk, Brenda from 1LA, Harrison, the relationship coach and therapist, social media maven Ianthea, and yours truly, Cherrylee Pinder, the author of Hello Joy. Welcome to episode 3, where we dive into chapter 10, Joy is Found in Gratitude, with none other than Chantel O'Brien. This episode is powered by CP Training and Consulting. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Chantel, to the couch. Super excited to have you here. So before we get into the interview questions, I like everyone to know a little. I mean, you assume that most people know you, but I mean, some people may not. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Chantel O'Brien. Some things I just don't even want to say anymore. I just be like, Lord, what else you got me going on? Yeah. I'm Chantel O'Brien. I am a believer. I am a daughter of Christ. I am a daughter. I'm a friend. I own a business, P.S. O'Brien Consulting, and I'm a newly minted filmmaker, thanks to you, of course.
I love that.
Of the Silk Walk Experience docufilm.
Yes, you are a
I'm a
filmmaker.
former Miss Bahamas Universe and former Miss World Bahamas. And that's, I guess, a lot of who I am. I wear so many different hats. You know how that is, that it's just kind of like, okay, where do I start? But yeah.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, Chantel has been in my life for a number of years. Started out mentoring when it came to pageantry and then with film.
Yeah.
So she, decided to continue to move. And I love the move that you're doing. And it's obviously, going wide, because I see people often recently, and when they see that, I'm doing the book Hello Joy, they were like, but you just did something. And I was like, I did? She's like, yeah, a documentary. And I was like, yeah, boy, Chantel been on it. She's been promoted.
Yeah.
She's been making sure that everybody knew, everybody who was a part, and everybody who contributed. And I'm super grateful for that. So, and it's even because of your pageant journey and your transparency. I think it was on your event that you had. I was a speaker recently. It was this year, and you shared something very vulnerable on the stage, and that really stayed with me, because I don't think a lot of people are brave enough to be vulnerable. And so when I heard you share that on the stage, that's when I knew you would be great for this conversation.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about joy and gratitude and finding gratitude in the things. So when you read the chapter, it was chapter 10. Joy is found in gratitude. What was some of the first things that stood out to you? Something that you remember or like stayed with you when you read that chapter?
I think even prior to reading a chapter, I always wondered how grateful I was as a person in terms of showing gratitude. And I only say that because oftentimes when I'm speaking to the Lord, I'm like, I'm not grateful enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't thank you enough. So I think reading the chapter was more so reinforcements of the things that you can't find joy in, because when we think about joy, we just think about the things that make us solely happy, but not the things that can connect to other things that can make other people happy in the process. And then also going deeper than just happiness, but having pure contentment, pure understanding, pure love for your season, for your journey, for people. So I think that's what stayed with me a lot, just being able to perhaps name for myself in each of the subtopics where I was in my joy journey. And I'm still working on it. I'm still working on my joy journey, but I'm grateful in reading the chapter to know, like, okay, you're doing something. You're not perfect, but you're working on it.
And we're not quite there, but it brings some awareness to where we can have joy and where that joy lies. For sure. So as I said, one of the reasons I want to have this conversation with you is because you shared on your platform that, you know, most people, we would, you know, people saw you and we saw it. You got the top 10 placement at Miss Universe, and for us as Bahamians, you won. Because we win.
Yeah, we win the
Top
whole
10, we win
thing.
the whole thing. She went. You know, just to hear your name called and like top 15 and your name called again. It's like, all right, keep going. Like
Yeah.
we felt like we were on a stage. Like you carried a country on your back. Like everybody felt like that was them because
Yeah.
you were our representative.
Yeah.
But you shared transparently on your platform when you had your event. There is some, whether it's anxiety or insecurities of now feeling like people are watching you like, what's next? And I think that a lot of people don't say it, but I've watched certain people, like I know Yendi Phillips, she had first run up in Miss, and I watched her journey with her career of going on TV and coming off TV. And it just looked from the outside in like, I'm trying to find my space now because everybody knows me as this placement, but there's more to life that I have to live.
Yeah.
But I'm now trying to find so talk about that experience of, you know, Miss Universe and the placement, and how did that affect your confidence, your clarity of next steps of what I should be doing? What was that like?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, you were one of the first people I spoke to immediately after they called the top 5, right? So immediately after we turned our backs and then we went off and then we got to our phones, you were the first person I spoke to. And I was like, I feel like I let the country down. You're like, what are you talking about? We're all celebrating. And I remember just feeling so like disappointed, like turning my back. Like as soon as I turned my back, I just was like so disappointed because I just felt like there was further to go. You know what I mean? And so I think it kind of started from there, kind of navigating that process of being content with how far you were able to go, no matter how far you thought you could get to, but also knowing that your journey begins in a different way. You know what I mean? It didn't end there. It went a different way in that case. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't about me necessarily feeling like, oh my goodness, what's the next thing or whatever, but it was also other people's expectations of what the next thing should be for me. You know, people that would project, oh, I hope they do this for you. I hope they do that for you. I hope this and that or whatever have you. And so if I can't respond to, yeah, that's exactly what's happening right now, or I can't give, you know, feedback in that way, I feel like a projected disappointment that I wasn't looking for. You know what I mean?
You wasn't even thinking about
I wasn't even thinking about that. And then here you come saying, well, you know, and it's like, well, I guess now that you say it, perhaps, you know what I mean? So I think definitely that, you know, and then also one of the things I shared too was just after someone telling me that there was more to come. And I just felt like I was at a peak, if that makes sense. It was something I wasn't even looking for. I never thought about competing for Miss Bahamas Universe again. It was not appealing to me at all. I was already coaching. I was already trying to figure out other things. And so when I heard that, I was like, it's obviously an insult to the Lord. But I was just like, what more? Like, what you talking about? Like, what more could come out of this? And so I guess I've been navigating this process of being joyful in the glory of God, in something that was good enough for him. Do you know what I mean? Versus me thinking that I know what's good enough for me if I've surrendered myself to him. And so that's been an up and down kind of thing. Like some days I'm very okay with it. Other days I'm like, now you could have done this and that. I'm giving him like, yeah, and you could have done this and that or whatever. And it's not that he can't do it. It's because he did not want to do it. He's God. Who can hold his hand back? Who could tell him what to do? Who asks him anything? You know what I mean? So I'm still navigating that process for myself. It's a high and low kind of thing. I can't say that I've completely gotten it down packed. I think that I try my best to just make sure that he knows that I'm so grateful to the point that I don't think that that's the best thing that you've ever done for me in my life. Just because this thing was so public, so it was such a phenomenon, doesn't mean that that was the best thing you've done for me just because of the size or the capacity that it looks like for other people.
Yeah.
So that's also what I've been working on. Because when I go to him, I don't want to be like, and thank you so much for 2021. It was such a great year, you know what I mean? And then you're thinking, well, geez, I did save you from a car accident. The year before, you didn't like that. Like that was pretty cool. So also being grateful in the things that he has done that seems mundane. They seem everyday. They seem boring. They don't seem as significant to the everyday, person. But like it's been sustaining me and building me up to who I am today. So
Yeah.
Corella, I don't know if that answers the
That does,
question.
that does, because you know why it does? Because it's so good for us to realize that it's God's glory from anything that we do.
Yeah.
And when we attach our identity to this is who I am, and I know back in the day there was someone who actually like tied their identity to Miss Bahamas. Like I'm like, you were Miss Bahamas in 98, like, but you still Miss Bahamas 1998. Like that's not your identity.
Yeah.
That is something that's a part of my journey, and the Lord wants to use it. And I think when you allow, or if anybody, you get stuck at a certain moment that was very public, or people try to get you stuck there because they're making it so like about it. And when you've moved on, the Lord's still using that journey. So even think about your film. We just did your film. That was something else. Now you're a filmmaker. You've made your mark. The Lord's going to do many things with this, I think, as well. There's more places for this to go. But the 2021 journey was a thread in it.
Yeah.
And so when we see all of these great things that the Lord is doing in our life as threads of him telling an even greater story, a greater fabric. So yes, that's a pretty piece on the quilt.
Yeah.
But there's a whole quilt that he's building, and that's good, and it connects and it's pretty. But I think it's being grateful to knowing that this is a part of my journey, but this isn't my journey.
Yeah.
This isn't all to my journey.
Yeah.
And knowing that this isn't all to my journey because it's really not about me. It's about him getting glory.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Exactly that.
It's about him getting glory.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's hard for us to be grateful for what we have? Why is it hard to move on or to continue the walk with the Lord and being like, the Lord did this and I'm good? And even though because I've had those years too where I'm like, boy, 2023, I mean, you got me traveling every month.
We had a time.
Okay. What we doing
this time last night. Okay. Yes, exactly.
After you gave me a house, what we doing? We go glory to glory is what people said. Like,
exactly that.
Why do you think it's hard for us to be grateful and always like looking out of what's next?
I think it's not even us in some ways not being grateful. I think that the Lord did such a great job in showing who he is as a creator and showing all of the more that he can give us. I feel like the things that we feel inside us that we want, it's just because we know that it's possible. Like we know that this thing that you've done, then you can do the next thing and you can do the next thing. And sometimes we don't realize that it's all timing, it's all about the timing, the seasons for things, and it's just that we can have a longing in our heart. And it's so funny. I had seen this post about it. Like you can have a longing in your heart for something. It doesn't mean like it has to be done right now or right away. And so I think that's when we fall in ingratitude because we're so focused or hyper focused really on the next thing. I just need to get to that next thing now. Right? Because even with the film, I was like, okay, Lord, now I got to keep momentum. Like, how do I stay on top of this without it being like, okay, you did it and then it just kind of plateaued or something like that. But realizing that this is something like, let the food cook. You know what I mean? Like, let the food cook. Let everything that needs to marinate so that the Lord can give you the defined strategy for everything. I heard something that completely changed my life when it comes to even receiving prophetic words. Like we get this word or whatever have you, but we don't take it back to the Lord to ask him what to do with it. What's the strategy behind it? Because I heard this and I heard that. I come into agreement. But what do we have to do in order to get there? We just start to think that, okay, we just need to go into all of our works. And that's why we get ungrateful because I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to be here. I need to be positioned here. I need to meet that person. I need to meet the next person. And that's not what the Lord is saying. Just be grateful. Just be thankful. Thank him for everything he's about to do that you haven't even set your mind upon because we don't even know his thoughts are higher than ours. His ways are much better. And so I think that's why sometimes we can get a little bit anxious and we want so much more because we know that there's more. But we don't understand that there's times and seasons for the more.
Listen, and that is so good. Seed, time, and harvest.
Yeah.
Seed, time, and harvest is what we have to remember. And like you said, we've seen the Lord do more. So I think when we've seen the Lord do more, we are supposed to use it as evidence. We have evidence that he's done it before. When he told Abraham, I'm going to give you children, He was saying, remember, I brought you from your father's house. I gave you wealth.
Yeah.
I brought you into this land. You know, I provided for you. So that should be evidence to what I can do. And so, like you said, we know he can do more. We've seen him do more.
Yeah.
So, but it's now having the time, because we can manipulate scripture. Like you said, we faith without works is dead. So we doing the works.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell you to do those specific works.
Exactly.
Those works become self-reliant and we become fueled with pride.
Yep.
Thinking like, I got to do it. I got to figure it out. But we're not waiting on the Lord for what he's trying to do because we become so self-reliant.
Exactly that.
We don't want to wait the time. We don't like waiting.
And then also, we don't worship.
Come on, talk about it.
I just feel like our gratitude is attached to our worship. And when we are feeling ungrateful and we're not showing gratitude, it's because we've focused on a different part of who God is, which is just his hand, what he can do, and not who he is as a person. We're not adorning him. You know, we've come out of a place of awe into a place of just throw it out there. Give me this, give me that. You know what I mean? I feel like the most times when I have felt frustrated is because I wasn't worshiping him enough to focus on just him above every other circumstance, above every other thing that feels unfair. You know, I thought this was going to go this way after that. I had a whole idea of what Miss Universe would look like afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, okay, a placement, first time ever, let's go. Where are we going to now? You know what I mean? And so when it didn't look like that, it's like, okay, so now you can get into a blame game. So God, you did all this and for what? What was the point of that? Do you feel very glorified right now? Like me and God, we had some conversation.
But
do you feel glorified right now?
we talk about that in Hello Joy. Like the chapter you read was on gratitude.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I wrote the whole book, and as the subtitle says, how to feed the spirit without neglecting the soul, is we tend to neglect the soul. And what the soul is those hard conversations.
Yeah.
Those hard conversations with the Lord, like you said, do you feel glorified right now? And when we get like Job and we have those hard conversations, that's when the Lord comes and reminds us that everything is under my feet.
Period.
Everything that I am doing.
Yeah.
You know, where were you when I did the
this.
stars and the clouds?
Yeah.
And told the waves to stop right there. Where were you?
Could you do that? Could you authorize that? I heard a lot of talking in the back. Can you?
You was a little loud earlier.
Yeah. So can you go there and do it for yourself since you know so much?
And then with the evidence of how you orchestrate, like even your journey, like you did Miss Bahamas the first time.
Yeah.
First runner up. Did Miss Bahamas the second time.
Second runner up.
Second runner up.
Third
time. And I remember I tell people the story all the time. I remember like, I am not mean Chantel. I'm not working with her. I lost twice.
Lord
and
Jesus.
I had to realize that was self-protection on my end because I was not grateful for the journey that the Lord had taken me through. The only thing that I took away from my Miss Bahamas journey is they didn't give me top 10. I won Miss Grand Bahama. The girl who was my first runner-up, they come back and they let her win, and I didn't win. So now I'm scarred, but not realizing the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of experience that it had given me. And the purpose of the Lord taking me through that experience was not so I could go on Miss Universe stage. But in meeting you, he was giving me the opportunity to be a part of the trajectory of history. You're not the one on the stage, but you're a part of the team that's helping the one that will be on the stage that gets to Miss Universe and have a placement. And that is what I've authorized for your story.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing story, even if you're not standing on that stage. But I would have missed out on what that experience was supposed to teach me because I was stewing in my feelings, being prideful and making it about myself instead of being grateful for the journey.
Yeah.
And so when we're grateful, that's when we look back and see the fabric of this is what you were doing. I was a part of history.
Yeah.
But you would have missed out on it because, my placement was supposed to get me on Miss Universe stage. When God is saying at the end of the day, it's about me being glorified.
Yeah.
And you went through first runner-up, second runner-up, then won Miss World, go to Miss World. You didn't have a placement in Miss World. Then years later, come to Miss Universe. All of that was preparing you for top 10.
Yeah.
All of that experience.
Yeah.
All of that experience made you resilient to the point that you got top 10 and you said, I was going, that's why you was able to get top 10.
Yeah.
Because most people only trying to get top 15. If
Right.
you reach for the stars, you reach for the moon, you fall on the stars.
And I think the phenomenon is just that nobody really expected it either. I mean, I showed up there as a 5'7" short hair girl, you know what I mean? Like with no sash factor.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, the Lord is kind, you know what I mean? Which made where when you do become ungrateful, it's like, girl, did you just see what I just did? You were the least likely. You were not the
like
first
David.
pick. You know what I mean? Exactly like that. You weren't the first pick. So I'm just reminded in the Lord, right, to remember who you were when, or who I was when he chose me for this journey.
Yeah.
And every lesson led to another lesson. You know what I mean? Being obedient and doing Miss Bahamas in the first place was the first step. You know what I mean? And the thing about it too, when I was competing back to back, it was also too because I had a pageant bug. It was just kind of like I went back competing thinking we was gonna have the same judges. Please, I knew nothing. Like, just like, oh, you think I'll be good for this system? Sure, I'm thinking we're gonna have the same setup, the same to do, and I'm gonna get it this time. You know what I mean? And sometimes you realize that even in your cluelessness, the Lord still has a plan. Like, he's so kind. He's like, you don't even have the first or second clue, but I got you though. I'm going to walk you through this thing. And so worship, even
It's
in all
worship.
of that,
It's
just
worship.
worship. And also I was in a completely different headspace by the time as I went to Miss Universe. And even here now, as we talked about like the film and stuff, completely different places in my spiritual walk and journey, my mindset, my heart posture, completely different.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that I feel like I have anything to prove outside of knowing that I know that the Lord has already given me access and has already commanded my destiny. So I want what's mine.
Amen.
I think that's the point that I'm at. And when I was fighting gratitude, it was more so feeling like I had something to prove. I don't want to have to be grateful for this or whatever because I deserve more, right? Pride. But now being at the point where it's like, I know that the Lord already called me to this, said that I can have this, so I'm deserving of this because he already set it aside. So now I'm just going to worship until I could get it.
Amen.
You
And
know
I
what I mean?
love that. That's the overall thing. The reason why we don't have gratitude is we're only looking at one facet of the Lord,
Yeah.
and we're not in awe. Whether you're leading a corporate company, a small firm, growth begins with your people. That's where CP Training and Consulting comes in. Led by Cherrylee Pinder, CP Training provides executive coaching, HR consulting, and soft skills training that transforms how teams work together. Her sessions are energetic, practical, and truly life-changing, helping leaders and teams communicate, collaborate, and perform at their best. Ready to elevate your workplace culture? Contact CP Training and Consulting, where growth meets transformation. See the show notes below on how to contact Cherrylee and her team today.
Yeah.
We're not in awe of who he is. So switching gears a little bit, one of the exercises that I talk about in the chapter of Joy of Gratitude was something that Jay Shetty said on his podcast. Because I know for me, I had struggled with not having certain roles, not receiving a certain, not yet having this certain title or role in my life, and not realizing there's so many different roles. So when you do the circle me, and then you say I'm a daughter, when you do that, whether you did it physically or did it in your head, when you think about the different roles, which role that you serve today gives you the most gratitude?
I think for me, well, it's a competition right now between daughter and friend. I would say daughter because I'm so much more aware of my relationship with my mom right now and how much our dynamics have changed and just in terms of us understanding each other. Because, once you become the parent, I've become the parent.
You're the parent now.
Yeah. You start to look at things different. You realize that just as I am the Lord's daughter, you're also his daughter. And so finding gratitude and not just always, because, on the onset, I was always, okay, I'm the breadwinner of the home. I got to get everything, da, 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 da. And a lot of that hasn't changed. I mean, I still have the same responsibilities and some of those pressures, but now really like, I get to be your daughter. Like, I get to like, enjoy you in a different way than I did before because a lot of my earlier journey is I was just trying to survive. A lot of us was just trying to survive. And now I'm not completely thriving. So I don't want nobody to come and be like, oh, she got it now. Because if you still got something for me,
Send it away.
you know what I'm saying? But at a point where it's just like, okay, like the Lord has been so kind with us this far that I can find joy into where we are right now. And then with friendship, I feel like that's cultivated me into being a much better person. And I realized that being the only child, there were many opportunities for me to have fallen short if I had not had good community. My good community led me to Miss Bahamas to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have no car. I didn't have no ways of being there or nothing like that. I had one friend who had a car and she had me talking about it. And I kept talking about it. I was like, oh, this is the last day doing the screen. She's like, okay, well, let me go take you. You know what I mean? Like, that one friend, I was like, okay. And another friend who didn't have a car, she was driving a me car, but she was picking me up 6 o'clock in the morning to get to workshops and stuff like that, to get to different, stuff. So it's like the Lord showed where, like, you're looking at what you didn't get, but look what you literally did get. You had the gift of community. So even in that journey, being able to connect with you, that connection led into something else, into something else. That is the Lord showing that I love you for real. Like, I gave you people.
For real.
I gave you people, and people are expensive. Access is expensive.
It is.
People loaning you their gifts and talents, their time, very expensive. And so when you get that, for something that they, in some ways, they're not gonna gain anything from it. Like, yeah, you play some Miss Universe, but it's not gonna be like Chantel O'Brien, Cherrylee Pinder right next to her. You know what I mean? For the most part, the Lord knows the role that you played. And there might be some people know, oh yeah, I know Cherrylee was working with her or whatever have you. But the mass majority might not know that. But the point is that the Lord is like, you have people that will do it, and they may not get any recognition from it, and they're okay with that.
Right.
Because they know that I'm doing something else in them. You know what I mean? This is an obedience to me that they're doing it. And so I've found a lot of gratitude in that. And even in that, I was like, okay, Lord, I'm not even going to complain anymore, because nobody could have complained better than me. You complain all the time.
Yes. And you made a point just now of when you're grateful for people that are in your life and what they're doing. And like you said, it's obedience. That was one of the things I did tell the Lord, sorry, that I forgot to say on the stage when we had the interview with Star when she said, why'd you say yes? Mm-hmm. And it was because the Lord said to say yes. Like, when you sign up to like do producing for a film, that's
not, and
I'm like, Lord, this
sounded like when I said
it. This is 2 years of work. Look, this is going to be a lot. This is going to be a lot. Jesus, I got to edit footage. I got to watch footage. I got to pull footage out. And he was just like, you want to tell her yes? Oh my Jesus. So it really is obedience, like you said, because of whatever the Lord needs to do in that person.
Yeah.
And so being grateful for the community that he gives you. Yeah. So, which is just so good. One of the things I remembered, I didn't want to forget it. Thank you, Holy Spirit. When you were talking about how you had community who showed up and took you somewhere, I had to take you to a practice.
And please, because you clocked my tea. We didn't have that phrase back then, but you clocked my tea. I will tell the story, okay? So, y'all, Cherrylee was on my team, y'all. And I think we had like a rehearsal or something like that. And I think this was prior to the actual showing or whatever have you, but I didn't give you enough notice about it. I just was like, yeah, and I need to get there, da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, okay. And you picked me up and you pulled up in front of Atlantis at Coral Towers, right by Valet. And right before I got on, you was like, and another thing, let me tell you something. You had something to do. You're going to have to honor the time and the effort that people give you, and give them advance notice so that they can show up for you in the way that they should show up for you. And that means I've been clocked then and I clocked today. And I have never forgotten that, because remember we've spoken about that a few times. And I was like, that was so good, because you know what I mean? That's how you also maintain relationships, right? So you can have gratitude for people, but you can show that you're ungrateful by the way that you manage people. You know what I mean? Because if you had not told me that and you had just held on to that, and then perhaps I would have needed you again, you'd been like, no, girl, I remember the last time. You asked me to do something. You asked me at 9 o'clock in the night. No, I can't do that for you. But also that is love.
That is love. That is what I tell people. That is love. And being grateful for having people in your life, one, that will love you enough to say it.
Yeah.
But two, give you enough grace to, this is a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Because I know your heart. Your heart posture is, I am grateful and I know I need you guys.
Yeah.
And so it's not to look at the person and say, oh, she ungrateful. No. Yeah. You're in their life as a mentor as they go through this journey of this pageant journey. Yeah. But you're also going to mentor them through life skills.
Yes.
And so you put your pride aside and you have the hard conversation. But what needs to happen on both sides is what happened on both sides for us. You were gracious enough to say, understood.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do it again.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy too is that you also dealt with an issue that could have, and I felt had always kind of been an overlapping issue in my pageant journey when prior I didn't have sufficient help. I mean, I had people that wanted to help me to get places and stuff like that. But they didn't have all of the resources that they could have had to be able to get me to where I needed to get to. So it was kind of like a journey and collaborative effort. But just being able to say, like, you need to be on time. So be on time, but be on time even with the way that you communicate with people. And I think earlier on, that definitely helped me manage everything that the Lord would give to me in people. And just being able to be more, you know, open with communication and saying this or that. And I've definitely found joy in that.
I love it.
for
And you know
sure.
why it's joy too? Because as you're saying that, when I watched that event that night, and the person that came with me to the event, he was like, "You didn't tell me like you was this involved." And I was like, I didn't know she was gonna recognize me so much. I didn't realize I was gonna be platformed so much at this event.
Yes.
But as I watched the event and watched you thank all of the people, I realized like, oh my God, there are so many people who wanted to pour back into you, from the people who did, who were in the documentary and the film, to the people who were helping.
Yeah.
And even with you doing that, you were shouting out your graphic artist, and I was like, noted, I'm gonna hire him.
Yeah.
I was like, you were putting people on that night by saying, this one did this, this one did that. And with it realized that the gratitude in me having that conversation is because of the assignment that's on your life, because of the global call that's on your life, because where the Lord is taking you, you had to know how to steward people, because he's about to put you in the realm of needing a lot of people and having influence.
Glory to God.
And wanting to store those relationships well. You're going to need to use this as a teaching moment, Carell.
Yeah.
Have grace, have love in it, but you have to say truth with the grace, because this is just a you and her thing. But because of where I'm taking her, there are so many other people. And this is just, you know, it's about to grow global. And so it's different cultures and stuff like that. So you're learning the lessons as you go. So like you said, there's gratitude even in the hard conversations, because I had to learn it because of where the Lord is taking me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I feel like joy is connected to so many other things: honor, respect, love, so many things. And just even in that moment, being able to show gratitude to so many people, it's like a reminder, like, once again, like the Lord gave me people as a gift. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I can't afford y'all. If you had to submit an invoice to me, listen. But also, I believe that the Lord is like, but I'm preparing you for when you can.
Yeah.
And these people are going to be able to trust you that when you can, because they saw what you did when you could not. And I think that's really important.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the wrap up right now. And I want you to look in the camera, and I want you to tell someone, why do you feel they'll find joy reading this book? You only had one chapter, Joy is in Gratitude. But from that chapter, as you look in this camera, why would they find joy from reading this book?
I believe that you will find joy in reading this book because you know that it's not just about you. Your joy is also a form of worship to the Lord, that you are grateful to him for his existence. And in that, we already know his existence comes with so many other things. And if we can just focus on just him alone, we can be able to be grateful for what it is that his hand does give us. And so being able to read this book, I think that you're going to be able to realize that there's some areas that you kind of underestimated, but with the Lord, his guidance, and with these words that are written on that page, those pages, because of obedience, you're going to find yourself being a much more transformed and joyful person. So stay in gratitude. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you guys for tuning in with me and Chantel for this conversation. Thanks, Chantel.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 3, Joy is Found in Gratitude, with Chantel O'Brien. This episode was powered by CP Training and Consulting. If you enjoyed this episode, then you know that November 15th is going to be life-changing. So we're inviting you to Hello Joy, the book launch that happens on November 15th. Please see the QR code on the screen for more details, or check the show notes below.